I see Tom. Hey, Tom, you smartest guys in the room. We're talking about building a better BS detector. That was Tom's title. That was a good title, Tom. So what have you been up to? I haven't seen you for a while. Summer hours.
Yeah, summer hours, man. I've been busy. I've been running around a lot. I've been doing some races. I was in Ohio a couple of weeks ago for a half Ironman race, and then I'm going to Canada to Ottawa this weekend for a full distance Ironman. Yeah, just been riding and running and swimming and playing with Isla, who's kind of just past a year, had her first birthday a few weeks back at the beginning of the month, and so she's getting much more mobile day by day, walking around, pushing. She's got this little push walker thing that she just rolls around the house and crashes into stuff with. So she'll grab that, walk around, crash into the dogs, crash into some stuff, and then go start taking things off the table and moving things around, and so all that kind of stuff. But it's fun. She's starting to get a personality and all that good stuff. So it's a good time. It's a fun time. So yeah, so we're doing that, and then I'm going on vacation again next week. So it's this week and then nothing next week, and then we'll be back again the week after, I think.
Tom, you're like super duper summer hours here. I mean, that would be a good name for a show too, summer hours, and you just talk about whatever goes on in the summer and do it whenever you want.
Yeah, I mean,
to David Spade and go on.
Hey, look, there's nothing wrong with having summer hours, right? I mean, you gotta enjoy life. So the plan was always kind of we're going to Ottawa to do this Ironman, and then my parents have a lake house about an hour and a half from there, so we're gonna go from the Ironman and then go spend a week at the lake, or go spend the rest of the week at the lake, and then come back and get back into it. But I'm still working too, just to be clear. I've got projects out to clients. I just locked in another project yesterday. So I got things going. I'm busy, but yeah, it's I don't know. It is what it is, right? It's summer hours, it's summertime.
Understood, my friend. Understood. Okay, so we're going to talk about building a better BS detector today. I think I got a delay, Tom. I don't know from the screen to the computer, but I see you. You're a better BS detector. That was Tom's title. And Tom, this idea, the concept, I was thinking about phonies. I was thinking about people that come on too strong. How come some people come to you when you are in need, everything, and you're like, it's like an epiphany. This is exactly what I needed. And they tell you everything you want to hear. And there's so many people that come on so strong like that, or message you and say they're going to change your world, or products that are going to change your world, and then don't. Are they phonies? Is it BS? What say you, Tom, as you pound your morning snack? Tom's carb loading for the race, he told me. So, Tom, before you answer that question, how many calories are you going to get in this week?
I don't know how many calories. I don't actually track calories when I'm carb loading, because it blows everything out. I mean, on average, probably for the next 4 days, so today through Saturday, I'll probably be 4,000 or 5,000 calories a day, somewhere in that neighborhood. But basically, the goal is to eat about 500 grams of carbohydrates a day. So to kind of put that in perspective, a regular bagel has about 50 grams of carbs, right? So I'm eating the equivalent of about 10 bagels worth of carbohydrates a day, right? And those are in any form. Your body doesn't care what form they come in. Carbohydrates are carbohydrates, sugar, sugar. Your body doesn't care. This whole thing about not white sugar, like this sugar or honey, or your body doesn't care. It doesn't differentiate. The molecule is the molecule. It doesn't give a toss one way or the other. So but yeah, I'm aiming for 500 grams of carbs a day. So right now I'm eating an everything croissant It's a croissant with everything bagel seasoning on it. And then I had some pancakes earlier, like no syrup, just pancakes. And then, I'll have I've got some like black cherry juice that I mix with seltzer. That's got a bunch of carbs in it and it actually tastes really good. So like I'll just be eating all the carbohydrates for the next 4 days. The idea is to top up the glycogen stores in your body. So you hold glycogen in your liver and in your muscles. And so the idea is to top up the glycogen stores both in your liver and your muscles, which does two good things for you going into an endurance event like an Ironman. One is it means that you've got all of the available energy you could possibly have stored, so that if you fuel well throughout the race, you're always burning more than you can possibly eat. So if you fuel well throughout the race, you won't run out of energy before the end of the race. So that's one goal. And then the other kind of side benefit is when your body stores glycogen, it uses water in that process, right? So your body naturally will hold on to water as it stores glycogen, which means that you're basically hyperhydrated going into the race, right? So if you do a good carb load, you also increase your hydration, which means that you've got a really good base of hydration going into your race. So like I'm just being nerdy about nutrition for endurance athletics, but yeah, so that's why I'm carb loading. But when it comes to building a better BS detector, like where my mind really goes, and it's something that I think, probably societally and culturally, but really societally, we could do a better job of encouraging in our primary education system. I think our secondary education system for the most part, does a reasonably good job at this, but we could do more in our primary education system, and that is to build critical thinking skills. At the end of the day, people, I think, come to you with like all these promises. They overpromise and underdeliver because that's kind of what they're taught in marketing, right? And it goes to like, it is sort of core to and at the center of my most hated style of marketing, bro marketing, right? But like what they tend to do is overpromise and underdeliver. If you follow these 3 steps, I'll make you $1 million, right? You'll make $1 million. If you do these 7 things, your life will change. If you do, complete this list of 10 things every day. It's like, it's the sort of like the fitness equivalent of like the 75 hard, right? It's like, oh, do these things and like everything will change. Well, guess what happens is like most people who start 75 hard don't finish. And those who do finish go back to not exercising afterwards, right? So like, it's not building anything sustainable and attainable over the long term. It's just a short kind of Band-Aid solution, right? And I think similarly, a lack of critical thinking skills, allows those sort of, unethical marketing tactics to prey on people, right? Because people aren't or haven't developed skills where they can start to see holes in things. Like if something is too good to be true, it most likely is, right? And if you're going to tell me that if I do 5 things, I'll become a millionaire, I'm gonna say to you, I don't believe you. That sounds too good to be true. It's too simple. If that's true, why isn't everybody running around with $1 million in their account, right? If all you have to do is these 5 things, why isn't everybody rich, right? Why isn't everybody set up for life if all you have to do are these 3 simple things every day or whatever, right? And the truth is because it's not true, right? It's a fantasy. It's too good to be true. And if you just start approaching it with a little bit of critical thinking, and I'm not saying don't believe everything, question everything, like I'm not going X-Files on things. I'm not saying question everything. What I'm saying is just think critically. If something seems too good to be true, it most likely is, right? And then my other sort of favorite variation of that idea is probably where that idea originates, and that's Occam's razor, right? The idea that the simplest explanation is most often the correct one, right? So like if the simplest explanation is that 3 things won't make you a millionaire overnight, well then that's probably the correct explanation, right? that it's probably the right answer. So that's, I mean, I think that's the focus from my perspective, is critical thinking skills, right? I think the more we can do to develop better critical thinking skills, the better we will all be at detecting the kind of BS that we see in marketing, especially on social media. And the better off we'll be when it comes to not being victims of that kind of marketing, those kinds of scams, things like that. So yeah, that's my thinking on it.
Good stuff, Tom. Okay, let's do it. Let's see what our friend Madison has to say about it. Madison, anybody putting down the BS to you, and how do you decipher when you know this is BS, or how do you know when to say, wait a minute, this sounds too good to be true, or I just don't trust what this person's saying?
I mean, I think the source is a big thing. I don't use like Twitter for this reason. I get my news from the news for this reason. But I do think, along the lines of what Tom was saying, that we're sort of taught that the fake it till you make it mentality is what's going to work in marketing, I guess, in your job interviews and all that sort of thing. And like, while that can be true for certain things, you have to really vet the source of where your information is coming from, or where your promises are coming from, people promising you this, or that sort of thing. I think it really comes down to your ability to analyze the source of things, at least in my experience this far.
Madison, I like it in a very succinct to say, analyze the source. And I would agree with you. Like, for me, if I want to see track record of success. If you're telling me what you can do, if you're telling me you're this great marketer, then I should look at your content. I should look at your business and see great marketing. If you're this great teacher of, like, I'm in the book business, then you should see lots of books. You should see lots of smiling authors, lots of people standing on stages, lots of good books. If you don't see that, then that person shouldn't be telling you about production or about cell success. They're telling you about cell success, but they're in their parents' basement. I see that, like, even sometimes people tell you about success, and I, I don't know if you see this, but I see this with some marketers sometimes, where, like, they're telling me about success, and I'm telling you, like, uh, what you are putting out right here is not anybody's definition. I know we all have our different definitions of success here, but what you are telling me you can provide, like, you're going to help me with investments, but they don't invest. You're going to help me lose weight or be in shape, but you're not in shape. Like, I'm struggling to get this connection here. So, okay. I want to tell you, by the way, before we get to Debbie, that I'm in a hotel today, and I had sausage gravy on biscuits for the first time today, and they were, yeah, I've never had it on biscuits, and I figured I'm going to step out of my comfort zone today. It just looked weird. It's always looked weird, but now I've been coming around, and it was pretty good. The biscuit, I mean, I know it was hotel food, but it passed the test. So what do you think, Tom?
All right. Well, so the way you said that makes me want to ask a question.
Yeah.
And that is, you said, I've never had sausage gravy on biscuits before. Have you had sausage gravy on other things?
I have not had sausage gravy on anything until today. I've looked at it. I don't even think I've ever had I don't even think I've ever put my spoon in sausage gravy before. I've thought about it. I've wanted to move that way. I've also never had a chicken fried steak. And since I love fried chicken, I got to get one of those some days, but I've never had either. So go on, Tom.
All right. So here's what I would recommend. I'm glad you tried it. It is a very heavy, like, not something I would suggest eating on a regular basis kind of meal, but it's a great meal to have every once in a while. You've tried it in a hotel. What I would recommend is go to, like, a good sort of like country kitchen style restaurant, right? Not a chain. Like, don't go to Cracker Barrel to get biscuits and gravy. They're meh, right? But, like, go to like a local sort of like country kitchen style place where they like hand make the biscuits, where it's their like sausage gravy recipe, and get biscuits and gravy there, right? Try it there, like with good biscuits with homemade gravy, not gravy out of a tub, right? Which is likely what the hotel did. Like no shade. I mean, we know what it is, right? It's hotel breakfast. They're not running a full kitchen there to put out that spread, right? So that's what I would recommend. Try it there. That's also the place to try like a chicken fried steak, right? Where like they're frying the steak in like a cast iron like skillet, on the stovetop kind of thing. Like that's where I would recommend. But like they're great. Again, like not something anybody who wants to like live a long healthy life should be eating on a regular basis. But it's a great thing to have every once in a while. Everything is fine in moderation, right? Like you can absolutely have that kind of stuff every once in a while. I do. It's fine. It's totally fine. But yeah, I would recommend get biscuits and gravy from like a good like Southern kitchen style restaurant, and same kind of recommendation for chicken fried steak. I think you'll like both. I like chicken fried steak is like it's steak fried like chicken, but it's usually cube steak that's like tenderized, and it's not like a good cut of meat. It's not like they're taking a ribeye and throwing it in a fryer. It's not that kind of thing. So it's a little bit different, but it's good. And it usually comes with sausage gravy on it. And often, if you're in a good Southern restaurant, it'll come with biscuits on the side too. So you can kind of get everything all at once.
Hey, Tom, you are getting some pushback already. Madison up on our panel here says, disagree. Cracker Barrel's biscuits and gravy is fire. There is a fire emoji she's using, Tom. So your take on Cracker Barrel
I think we're
is
just not going to see it. I think we're just not going to see eye to eye on this one, Madison. Like, I can't endorse that sentiment. Sorry, they're just not. Like, if you have them in a good place where they're handmade, like they just don't compare.
Well,
hey,
and
I know Madison pushed back on you one time about daylight savings time, and that made a good point. So, Madison, what is your pushback on Tom's take? And then we're going to Jason, Debbie, and Dr. Tachi. Go on. What do you got?
Well, I would definitely say that traditional or like authentic biscuits and gravy from a Southern restaurant would probably be better to try it for the first time. And maybe I'm conditioned to like Cracker Barrel because they don't have them in the city, and so every time I have Cracker Barrel, I'm like going on vacation or something. So that's possible, but I think it's a good standard biscuits and gravy. Like that's just kind of the flavor that you're going for, the texture that I like, a little chunkier. I'm a Cracker Barrel fan, so I guess I'll leave you with that.
Hey, all good. Whatever whatever is your yum, go for it. I'm not trying to yuck your yum. I just that my recommendation is try to find a good Southern restaurant. But yeah, I mean, hey, if you love Cracker Barrel, Madison, get yourself some Cracker Barrel.
There you go. Good. Hey, we want to do reviews on this show, so if Cracker Barrel wants to send us some sausage gravy and biscuits, me and Tom will both eat it at the same time and give you our take on it. Okay, building a better BS detector. Hey, Jason, you got a good BS detector? Or are you falling for all kinds of scams? Or what do you got going on, man? How do you judge on what's BS? Am I full of shit? How do you draw the line, Jason?
If it sounds very vague and it's something I know very well and how it really works, I mean, BS is every day. People are playing roles to get somewhere or something. So look at their energy level. If they're very anxious, they're very forceful, overly passionate, those could be deceptive tools. But at the same time, you have to just I think the best way to tell is like the more patient you are versus someone else's needs to persuade, that's probably your greatest asset to detect BS. I mean, I just, people are going to do what they're going to do, but don't take offense when they do. Don't be mad. Don't grandeur. Don't lecture. Oh, I don't want to be around BSers. Just let people be as they are. And then when you walk away, you don't have to reinvest. So that's all I can say.
Hey, good stuff, Jason. And I will tell you, I started listening to Let Them by Mel Robbins. And since you talk about Stoics a lot, she mentions the Stoics, and part of that is let them from what she's describing. So makes sense. Okay, let's roll on here. Debbie Griffiths, we got Debbie Griffiths, Dr. Tachi, we got Jim Aj on the stage. Julie's here. Trish, what's up? Everybody, Tom, where are we all at right now before we get to Debbie?
Yeah, I mean, so we're streaming live on the internet, right? We're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, we're on LinkedIn, we're on Twitch streaming. So yeah, so we got a whole bunch of places we're streaming across the internet. So that's the deal. That's the story.
Well, you did that very well. Okay, come on now. Building a better BS detector. Unless you want to talk about sausage gravy, go on, Debbie Griffiths. What do you got for us?
Good morning. And like Madison, I am a Cracker Barrel fan because that is the only Southern type restaurant we have here in Nevada. So enjoy those biscuits and gravy. Dom, my mouth is watering. Anyway, the BSD detector, I feel like the spams are becoming more and more. Not just with phone calls and they're getting and they constantly text you with this, that, or the other. But, I see it a lot also like on LinkedIn. People will like connect with you and then, or want to connect with you. And then they, right away, they pitch you. And I'm like, who are you? And not, and like what Madison was saying about checking the sources, I kind of want to see who else they know that I've worked with, check and get some resources and stuff on them and check out their successes. If I am indeed interested in what they're trying to pitch, I don't begrudge anybody wanting to pitch their product. I mean, we're all in business, right? And in business to make money. But it goes back to what I know we've all talked about before, is kind of developing that relationship first before you start, boom, right away, hit somebody with, oh, you got to work with me, or you got to do this, or I can help you get to 1 million viewers, just sign up with me. We just got to take some patience, take a step back and review everything before we sign up with anybody.
Yeah, good stuff, Debbie. I appreciate you. So once somebody burns you, is there a point where you're like, like how quick do you on that person that reaches out on LinkedIn and oh man, like this was just a pitch. Come on now. How quick do you ditch them?
Pretty quick. I mean, I don't, a lot of times I see people follow up with 2 or 3 messages, but it's pushy. And I don't want to be pushed. I want to have that time to, analyze and review. And a lot of times what they're trying to push, it's not going to help me anyway. So I kind of go incognito and go the other way.
Thank you, Debbie. I'm always a believer, like every conversation is worth a cup of coffee. Let's meet. Let's have a cup of coffee. Let's get to know each other. But I don't want hard pitched. I don't want hard closed. So I struggle. Like I will respond after. Okay, if I didn't get pitched to, yeah, let's meet up. Let's talk. And then sometimes I meet a new person and we have a nice conversation. But I am very cautious of somebody that's going to help me solve all my problems when they don't know what my problems are, or that I have a problem. I have problems. They just don't know which ones I have. So that I will admit. Okay, Tom, what do you want to do? Should we roll on to Dr. Tachi and Jim Ajay, or should we sidebar for Tom's thumbs? What do you think?
Let's go. Let's see what Dr. Tachi and Jim have to say. We'll see if Jim's gonna. Is Jim gonna talk today? Because Jim doesn't always, even when he comes up on stage, he doesn't always have any. He doesn't.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, well, we'll go to Dr. Tachi on the BS detector, and then we'll see if he's going to talk. Anybody else want to come up? Come on up. Dr. Tachi, BS detectors and sausage gravy. That's what we're going to name this show. What do you got for us, Dr. Tachi?
I love the name. Please use it. Good morning, everyone, and it's good to see you all back here. So in terms of detecting, this is the interesting thing. There are so many people with quote unquote offers that have gone to the same school of offerdom. So everything looks the same. Even the way they phrase the offer. Well, damn it, I know you went to XYZ coach because this is the way XYZ coach teaches it. So sometimes there's even no effort to differentiate what they learned from what they're offering from what they've learned, I should say. And that's fine. I mean, that's the whole reason you go to coaching, to learn how to do things. But someone who doesn't bother significantly to shift what they're saying from what they've learned, to me, that's, a little bit of a red flag. It signifies that you may not be as adept as you are purporting to be. Also, I think let me go to this point first, and then I'll come back to that one. I think I told the story here before of where I took a challenge that was helping with I think it was an offer challenge or something like that. And I like doing different challenges because it forces you to do the work in a shorter amount of time, or at least get started. And I'll tell the story again really quickly. This individual, we were all getting along so well. One of the people in the challenge said, "Are we allowed to share our Instagrams and our socials so that we can keep in contact?" And the person said, "I would not recommend that because then you'll be so into that and not do the work." I said, "Okay, well, maybe fair point, but you can't tell me what to do. If I want to keep in contact with people, I will." So I told somebody else this, and they said this. That's because this person only knows their method and not the entire craft. And they need a way to keep you in the fold. And if you all get in touch with each other and kind of learn from each other, that cuts them out of the equation, and they need a way you're valuable to them. So that's another thing to look out for. If they are vehemently opposed to the people within the program, the challenge XYZ, keeping in contact with each other, well, why? What do you think we're going to do? Incite a coup and overthrow you? No. So that's another thing to be, to have your detector go off on. So I'll leave it there.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Dr. Tachi. Like, what are you? It begs the question, right? What are you afraid of? What are you afraid we're going to say to each other? What are you afraid we're going to learn if we spend too much time talking to each other? What are you afraid that we might realize? Are you afraid we might realize that this is all BS and that's why you're trying to control who we're talking to and how we're talking to each other? Like, that definitely that gets my BS detector, dinging, right? Like, I mean, it's the buzzer is going off.
Oh, can I add one more thing?
Absolutely.
So also another thing that I look for is, what does this person actually do? And this is when it comes to people that are doing courses and challenges and things. What do you actually do? Because for some of these people, what they do is sell courses and they don't have a discipline. To me, it's the same thing as, people always, I see a lot of people that are going to get, and if this is anybody, I'm sorry, but I'm going to tell the truth. To a lot of people that are starting to go to get PhDs in higher ed administration and things like that, because in their head, that's their pathway to becoming a dean or a provost. And as somebody who has been in higher ed for 20 plus years, that's not the way you do it. Most people who are in those positions have a discipline and they came through the ranks. So there's sociology, psychology, in the sciences, whatever the case may be, not by going to get a degree in a specific arbitrary thing. So it's the same thing with this. Do they have a discipline? What do they actually do outside of sell courses? What is it that they're teaching you to do outside of this? So that's another thing I look for.
And I would just, Dom, I just want to tack on one thing to that. So like I would just tack onto that too, Dr. Tachi, that like I think there's two other things that often when we're in this sort of like talking about this sort of like coach or like, you know, course creator kind of economy, where we're talking about that, there's two things. Like one, the ability to do something. Somebody could have built a business and been incredibly successful at it. The ability to do something does not mean that you can teach it, right? Like teaching and doing are very different, right? Like teaching is its own skill set, right? Building a business is its own skill set, and just because you have one doesn't mean you have the other, right? So there's that. And then the other thing too is also you don't have to be the best at something to be able to teach it well, to be able to teach a fundamental skill set to do something well, or so that other people can build on that skill set. And like case in point, right? We talk about like, oh, you know, everybody can use a coach, everybody can use that kind of mentorship and guidance in their lives from an outside perspective. You know, you talk about somebody like Michael Jordan, arguably the basketball GOAT, right? Still to this day. And guess who had a coach his whole career? Michael Jordan. Guess whose coach was not a better basketball player than Michael Jordan? Michael Jordan's coach, right? Like he could coach Michael Jordan and give him the skills he needed to be the best player he could be, but he didn't have to be the best player first, right? And I think that's the other thing too, is people a lot of times will tout this skill set like, oh, I've built 7 businesses and made $20 million selling them, right? Like I can teach you how to do it. And it's like, well, maybe you can, maybe you can't, but having done it doesn't mean necessarily that you can, right? So like, that's another thing that I would encourage people to think critically about is like, just because someone says they've done something or has done something doesn't mean they can teach it, and vice versa. Just because somebody can teach something really well doesn't mean they have to have been able to do it or execute it in their own lives also, right? So anyway, I just wanted to tack that on. It just popped into my head. So that's what I got for that. Jim, we're coming around to you. What do you got to say about a BS detector?
First off, I'm glad you guys are back, number one. Number two, I'll try to keep it brief because Tom's thumbs are waiting in the wings, so everyone loves that part. Dom, I know you're in a hotel. Are you underwater in the hotel? It's hard to hear you.
Yeah. Dom, are you coming to us live from the bottom of the hotel pool?
I wondered because I could hear you all very well, but Dom's very muffled. But anyway, I got a quick story about
Bikini Bottom. Go on.
Yeah, quick story. Well, BS detector first, and then a quick sausage gravy story since we're on that topic. But BS detector to me is fairly simple. If you ask the right questions or ask challenging questions and they can't give you a reason or they're vague, like Jason said, chances are they're full of BS. And the other thing, like Dom said, you know, if they're reaching out to you and they're not asking you questions about what you need or about what you do, what your business is, what your opportunities are, that sort of thing, then if they become all about themselves, that's somebody I really don't trust. And I guess you notice as you get older, everyone becomes more cynical. But I think it's easier to spot BS as you get older because I think, like Jason said, you see it every day. So when you see it, it's easier to spot, and you're less likely to be taken advantage of because you know you with age comes experience. That's what I have about the BS. About sausage gravy, when my son was probably like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years old. Dom, Eaton Park, by the way, has good sausage gravy and biscuits. That's a Pittsburgh restaurant, everybody. So he went to the salad bar at Eaton Park, and he came back with a bowl of sausage gravy. And he said, "Mom, this is really good sausage soup." And we said, "What are you talking about?" We looked down. He had a bowl of sausage gravy, just eating the gravy, no biscuits or anything else. He thought it was soup. So to this day, last weekend we were at a reunion. They had sausage gravy at the hotel, and everyone made fun of him because they asked if the sausage soup was good. So that's my sausage gravy story. And Dom, hope Uncle Tommy's doing well, and safe travels. That's all I got. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Jimmy. Good stuff about sausage gravy. And his son is physically fit, and what's he in the Army? What is he in, Jimmy?
Well, he's in the National Guard. Just got promoted to sergeant at 20 years old, so very young and doing well.
Yes, very good. So you did good, and eating all that sausage gravy did not hold him back. So you can you can do great things after bowls of sausage gravy. Okay, let's do. It is time, Tom. It's that time of day. We're gonna go on a subject we really like. It's time for Tom Stumps. So today I thought I'd make it easy for you. Since you're in production, we'll even go to production. Tom, what do you think about the validity of the Epstein tape?
Which tape are we talking about? Because there's like, I mean,
Okay, so I want to know, okay, the prison tapes now, they are showing actual prison tape, and some people say that the prison tape is pure. Some people say that there's cursors on the screen and missing minutes. But you are in production for 25 years, so I want a thumbs up or a thumbs down from somebody as versed as yourself.
So here's the thing. I have not, and I will start with this proviso, I have not reviewed the tape or the video footage personally, right? I also don't have access to the original footage. So whatever I would be looking at would be through someone else's platform, et cetera, et cetera. So like, I really can't, I don't have the option to look at it with any sort of like, through any sort of real analytical lens. I will say this, according to the reports I've heard, right? And this is from sort of good sourced reporting from legitimate journalistic sources, right? The reporting that I've heard, that I've seen, is that those tapes or the video footage that was released, the file that was released, in the metadata of the file, right? So when you actually look into the metadata of the file, there are markings of that file having been put through Adobe Premiere, right, Pro, which is an editing software program, and that program does leave metadata in footage that you export from it, right? So that the reason that metadata exists, just to be clear, so people understand, so that other players know what the footage is, what wrapper it's in, what sort of codec to apply to uncompress the footage, et cetera, right? So like how to play the footage. So that metadata does exist in footage that you export from Adobe Premiere Pro. The reporting that I've seen is that footage that the Justice Department released does have metadata in it showing that it was put through Adobe Premiere Pro, which there's no reason to put it through Adobe Premiere Pro if you're just taking the raw footage and releasing it, right? Like you could, like if you wanted to compress the file or make it use a different codec that was playable by, other players or whatever, there are tons of other software pieces to use. You wouldn't need to use editing software, right? Like, so that's a red flag for sure. The fact that it has Adobe Premiere Pro metadata embedded in the file is a giant red flag. And also, apparently, according to the time code on screen, this is how people were able to like identify it right away. The security footage has time code embedded on the screen, right? Like that rolling clock in the bottom corner of the screen. According to that, there is at least one section that has a minute missing. I think there might be several sections that have like time jumps. And the argument from the Justice Department is, oh, that's just a quirk of the recording system or the monitoring system. There's no here. There's nothing to see here. Why don't you guys look over there? These aren't the droids you're looking for. Those are the droids you're looking for, right? Like they're trying to do like, it feels like they're trying to do a sleight of hand. So I will say this, with everything the Justice Department says about Epstein right now, right? Like everything that this Justice Department under Pam Bondi, under Pam Bondi and under the Deputy Attorney General, who used to be the president's personal attorney, right? His personal defense attorney. So like everything coming out of that, right, I think has to be taken with at least a grain of salt at minimum, right? But like it has my BS detector pinging for sure. And with the tape that they released, as with everything else, the fact that they've said like the list was on my desk, now the list doesn't exist, right? Like we're going to release these files. Oh, never mind, we can't release these files, right? All of this stuff, this backtracking, this changing direction, this misdirection, like what do you mean, Epstein? Hey, look over here at the MLK files, right? Like that kind of stuff. Oh, like what do you mean, Epstein? Like let's charge Obama with treason. Like all of this misdirection has my BS meter dinging hard. Like it is pegged in the red. I give it a thumbs down, right? There's no question in my mind that there is more than we're being than has been released. I don't know what it is. I don't want to speculate about what it is. I don't want to speculate as to anybody's guilt or innocence. I will say one piece of Epstein evidence that was apparently out in the public that everybody had either not seen or forgotten about that was recently resurfaced was a deposition with Epstein, and I think it was in the 2000s when he was being charged like in the 2007 2008 something like that. He was being deposed. The video is out there. I've seen this video, and he gets asked, "Have you ever socialized with women under the age of 18 in the presence of Donald Trump?" And he pleads the fifth. So like, I mean, I don't know. Again, I don't want to make assertions, but like he didn't want to incriminate himself by admitting that he had done, that he had socialized with young women, minors under the age of 18. And so he pleaded the fifth. So I don't know, but be that as it may, I will just say that all of it around Epstein has my BS detector pegged in the red. I'm calling BS on the file from prison as well, the video file from prison. And for all of those reasons, it gets a hard thumbs down from me.
Tom, you nailed that, and you made it. And I did want to talk to you about the production aspect of it, so getting into the metadata and things like that of what that means when two tapes are put together and the scales of one's bigger than the other and things like that. So for the layman, when somebody says the ratios on the screen change at some point, well, what does that even mean? So can you just speak to before we go on, just speak to metadata a little more, if you would.
Yeah, I mean, so look, I'm not a software engineer, so I'm sure there are software engineers, maybe somebody listening, who could give a much better, more precise technical explanation of the metadata. My understanding of it is that the metadata that most software embeds in files that are exported from that software is there basically to tell either that software, if you re-ingest that footage, if you load that file back into that software, to tell that piece of software what has been done to it previously, i.e. not all the individual edits, but like what file type it is, what codec was used to encode the footage, how it's best played back, what the resolution of the footage is, all of those things. That metadata exists, and I know that metadata exists in files that you export from Adobe Premiere Pro. Most pieces of software will also use identifiers so that that if you look at the metadata, that this file came from this piece of software, right? They don't leave it a mystery, right? It just says it's signed, right? It's like if you export a Word document, right? Like the .docx at the end of it tells you that it was either exported from Word or it was exported in a format that is meant to be recognized by Word, right? And within that file, there's metadata that tells the software how to read and interpret the information in that file. And that's what that metadata does. And so there is, according to reports, there is metadata in the file that says that it was exported from Adobe Premiere Pro. Right. So like that is sort of, if that metadata is correct and the interpretation of it is correct, then like that's kind of incontrovertible. Like, why would you make something look like if it was exported from Adobe Premiere Pro if it wasn't. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Again, apply Occam's razor. The simplest explanation is most likely the correct one. It was probably put through Adobe Premiere Pro. And then you were talking about like, I think you were talking about like aspect ratios.
Yeah.
Right. So like, I mean, there are, you could tell if an aspect ratio changes or if the magnification of the image changes. You can tell just by looking at the screen, it would appear as like a jump, right? Or like the placement of objects, of fixed objects within the frame would move. So like if I were to change the aspect ratio or change the magnification on my camera right now, like the things in my background that are fixed objects in the frame would be in a different place in the frame, right? I would appear larger. Those things behind me on the shelf would be in a slightly different place. And so similarly, like, on an image like we're talking about from that prison, the door, like the doors, for example, are fixed, right, objects. They don't move. The doorways do not move, right? So unless you're like, at Hogwarts or something in Harry Potter, like doorways don't move. So if from one shot to the next, if the doorway is in a different part of the frame, but it's the same camera, well, let me tell you, like that's probably an indication that the footage was played with a little bit, because most surveillance systems are very rudimentary. They record a fixed image, period, end of story. Like all the movie stuff where like there's somebody sitting there with a joystick and they're moving the camera around and zooming in and all that stuff, like that doesn't really happen in the real world very much. Like generally speaking, like unless you're at a casino, they have a lot of movable cameras and highly, but like in a prison, right? Like that's a fixed camera. It's a wide angle lens. The idea is to get a rudimentary image of the entire space, period, end of story. Like those cameras don't move. You can't control with a joystick. You can't zoom in and out. Like none of that stuff, right? Most likely. I don't want to say that with 100% certainty because I'm not familiar with their system, but most likely none of that is possible. The most likely scenario is that if fixed objects within the frame are in a different place from frame to frame, the footage has been doctored. Like the footage has been edited, moved in some way, altered in some way. I don't want to say doctored. That's probably the wrong word, but it has been edited or altered in some way. If that happens, like that's a kind of a telltale sign.
See, now that is a good explanation. Thank you, Tom. Okay, before we get to a show and tell, we're going to go around the room here and let's get a tip from everybody about BS detectors. So I'll start and I'd say temper your expectations of anyone. So when somebody comes to you and says they can solve all your problems, maybe just dial it back personally and think, maybe they can't. And maybe I'm not going to expect them to. And maybe it would be wrong for me to expect them to solve every problem. So I'm going to say you would set yourself up for success a little better if you didn't think that somebody had all your answers and they were going to solve it like this. So that's where I'll start. So let's go around this room. So we're going to go L. If you want to give us a tip on how to have a better BS detector, give us a quick one. Then we're going to Jimmy, Dr. Tachi, Debbie, Madison, Tom. Go on. What do we got, Al?
Hi, good morning.
How are you?
Good. How have you guys been? I haven't been on for a hot minute, so I've missed seeing you guys. I'm glad to be here. For me personally, I think I tend to now trust my intuition. After 50 plus years on this planet, I've sort of honed that, listening to that voice inside my head, but also the cues are usually in what they're doing, body language. A lot of people who are just feeding you bullshit tend to talk too much and listen less. They don't ask questions. They just talk. They talk. And the more they talk, the more that thing in your mind is saying, you know what? I'm sensing they're needing to convince me of something that isn't true. And what I do with that then is do some investigation and dig a little deeper. But you always have to maybe trust initially, but verify. But when your bullshit detector is going off and there is that voice in your head, listen and dig a little deeper.
Good stuff, Al. Thanks for being here. I like that. Trust but verify. That's all. That's very, very simple, but very powerful. Okay, we're back to Jim Aj. Jim Aj, you got any tips for BS detector for us? What do you got?
Well, one thing that just came to mind is, a lot of these people prey on people that need something or want something. So if you're looking for help with sales or help with whatever, help with going through a divorce even, if they have all the answers right away, that should be your BS detector should go off. And what I would say is, your method of always asking for a cup of coffee or having a discussion could work in certain instances. But if you tell them what's wrong and ask them if they could just give you a couple key pointers, if they're willing to do it, chances are maybe they are somewhat legit. If they want to schedule a meeting or do a bunch of different things and really take more of your time, then chances are they're probably BS. And to Tom's point, earlier he said, you don't have to be good at something to be a good coach. I agree with that in a sense, but they say people that can't sell teach people how to sell. And when people approach me with things like that, I always ask them, like basically what Dr. Tachi said is, tell me your track record. What's your resume like? What have you done? What have you sold? How have you been successful? Because if you're really that successful, why do you get out of it and then go into something different? And that's the question I've asked before is, what made you go this route? If you're doing well and on your field, what made you go this route? Yes, reason then, obviously don't.
I think Jimmy might be in the vortex, but we got you, my friend. We got you. Not the smartest guys in the room, building a better BS detector. Dr. Tachi, you got a tip for us about that. 3, 2, okay, let's roll. Let's go to Debbie. Debbie, a tip to hone home. It's actually home, not hone. I just read that in a book the other day, and I had to look it up. It is home in, not hone in. So, Debbie, do you got a tip for us on how to get yourself a better BS detector?
I think what everybody has been saying, just ask questions, check their references, and use caution. It goes back to the old trust but verify.
Okay, trust but verify is hot here. Okay, Jason, you got a tip for us. What do you got?
My tip is very simple. Be patient with yourself and you be patient with others. That's how you check out more lies than truth sometimes. I mean, or how you spot more truth than lies. Be patient with yourself in all situations.
Good stuff, Jason. Thanks all for being here. Okay, Dr. Tachi, if you wanted to go, just flash. And then, but first we're going to go to Madison. Madison, do you have a tip for us? What do you got?
Well, I totally agree with everything that everyone said so far. I think getting to know someone personally can tell you a lot about, like how much they know what they're talking about, how trustworthy they are. So I think that, like you said, having a virtual cup of coffee, like really getting to know somebody outside of work, asking them personal questions and that sort of thing, like, within reason, can be helpful. Because I think you can, tell a lot about a person by getting to know them a little bit more.
That's a nice take. Get to know them. That seems pretty smart. Okay, hey, you got some thumbs up around your picture. Okay, and Tom, do you have a tip for us?
Yeah, I think like my single biggest suggestion would be just ask questions, right? Ask lots and lots of questions. Be curious, right? If someone is trying to BS you, they are going to try to hide from your questioning. They're going to try to hide from answering your questions. They're going to try to dodge you. It's a really good way to sort of winnow down and determine whether or not somebody is being honest and truthful and forthright with you, or they're trying to mislead you or feed you a line of BS. Just ask a lot of questions. Be super curious, right? Don't shy away from it. And I just wanted to say too, to Jim, I totally agree with you. I think what I was saying, and maybe I didn't say it well enough before, but I just wanted to clarify. Like, I don't think you have to be the best at something to teach it, right? I think you do have to be good. You have to have a certain level of proficiency and a skill set in the subject area, but you don't have to be the best at it in order to teach it. I think that's one of the things where people like, sort of get misled. And often the people who are best at doing the thing aren't real good at teaching it, right? And so yeah, so that's what I was trying to get at before. But anyway, before we run out of time, because we're getting up against the clock here, we're creeping up on an hour. We got one more piece of business to take care of, and then we'll do a quick wrap up. But first, without further ado, Dom, what do you have to show and tell us about this week?
Okay, here's what I got for you. And I'm in my travels today, so I don't have my normal backdrop of things to choose from. My voice is hoarse from my travels, so I can't even explain it. I'll tell you all about that another day. But in my travels, I bring with me multiple pairs of shoes. Some shoes I only cycle in at certain times. I believe, like, I don't want to make sure they don't get dirty, don't get wet. If they're white, they got to be clean and all that kind of stuff. But they're going to have multiple pairs, even though I'm only gone a couple of days. So the coolest pair that rarely come out are the Air Max. Air Max in general are the greatest pair. And I got a brown pair at home, but this pair rarely comes out. It's probably a year old. And you see, even at a year old, this shoe is absolutely perfect. But my friend Justin was over the other day, and I'm walking around my house in these other Nikes. I was walking around my house in these, and then we went to go outside, and I took them off and put a different pair of shoes on, and he was like, "Hey, Dom, why are you changing shoes?" And I was like, "It just rained, man. I'm not going out with these shoes on when it just rained." And so my blue and white Air Max that I brought to Uncle Tommy's, the perfect shoe. That is today's show and tell, Tom.
I like it. You're doing like a little Mr. Rogers move, changing your shoes from inside shoes to outside shoes, right? As you go back and forth. Do you also put on a little sweater vest when you come into your house?
I'm going to start because Mr. Rogers is the coolest dude ever. Kindness made kindness cool.
Hey, one of my favorites for sure. Like, I watched so much Mr. Rogers growing up, and I think one of my favorite things from him, and it's not from the show, it's from his one of the times that he testified in Congress, and it was that line to always look for the helpers, right? Always look for the helpers. There are always helpers. Yeah, I thought that was just such a great sentiment. Really summed up the kind of person that he was. So yeah, huge fan of Mr. Rogers, but also like the Air Maxes, and it's not something I will ever really get into, but like part of me, and I don't know if anybody else has this happen, but like sees other people's hobbies and sometimes gets like a little sort of like, ooh, that would be maybe a fun hobby to get into. And I've like thought about, like, I've never really thought about getting into it, but every time I see somebody who's like kind of a sneakerhead, I'm like, oh, like that would be kind of cool or whatever. But like, I mean, it's not my thing, and it would never work. Like, I would have a hard time with it. But like, I've always wanted to be a little bit more of a sneakerhead. Maybe have, some sneakers that, maybe a couple of pairs of Air Maxes or something like that. That, or Dunks or something that I was taking good care of. But it's not really my thing. But I appreciate it. I like it when I see other people like have a nice pair of sneakers. I get it is what I'm saying. But I'd have to wear them. Like, that's just me. I would have to wear them.
Only when it's not gonna. Only when there's zero chance of rain inside on the perfect summer day. And speaking of perfect summer days, it's time that we wrap, Tom. This is going to be the perfect day for all of us. We talked about sausage biscuits, sausage gravy. We talked about Epstein detectors. So how do you bring it all together, Tom?
I'm not sure I can. There's a couple of things I want to say though. One, I want to have a quick callback to Cracker Barrel. I will say while I did kind of crap on the biscuits and gravy there, I will say the hash brown casserole is pretty money at Cracker Barrel. I will definitely give Cracker Barrel that. Like, that's something. If I go to Cracker Barrel, like, that's something. The hash brown casserole is like that's on my list of things I'm going to order for sure. So I'll say that. But yeah, I mean, I think, like, look, when it comes down to summing this all up, we've kind of been all over the map a little bit today, which is fine. I like it when we cover a range of topics. Like you said, we've talked about everything from breakfast foods to Epstein files and videos to honing your BS detector. I would just leave everybody with this. I think at the end of the day, there are always going to be bad actors. There are always going to be people who try to take advantage of other people in order to gain notoriety, fame, wealth, etc. Right? And my thing that I would always encourage people to do is to ask questions, to be hyper curious. It's really hard for those people that are trying to feed you BS to get around that kind of curiosity. So be hyper curious, and always remember that if it seems too good to be true, it probably is, right? So I think those two things are my best sort of tips to really continually improve your BS detector, to use that critical thinking, those critical thinking skills. Be curious, ask questions, and don't accept something that seems too good to be true, because it probably is too good to be true. So with that, I think we'll wrap it up there. We'll leave it there for the week. For Dom, I'm Tom. This is Not the Smartest Guys in the Room. We are still on summer hours, so there will be no show next week. We'll be back in 2 weeks. And until then, I hope everybody's having a fantastic summer. Everybody is enjoying being outside, doing fun things, traveling, vacationing, being with family, all of that good stuff that we do in the summer. Really hope that everybody's having a fantastic summer and staying healthy. Wish Uncle Tommy a speedy recovery, and Dom safe travels home. And we will see you guys in 2 weeks. So take care. Thanks for being here as always. You guys are the reason why we do this, and we love you. See you in 2 weeks.